Welcome to the Georgia Peach Symposium, and we're so excited to have you here with us again. We are just so glad to have one of our esteemed guests in the person of Joshua McCune. Joshua McCune is a state senator right here for the Georgia House of Assembly. And so, Josh, I know that the session has begun, and I know you all are working on some wonderful new legislation. And before we also get that far, I also want to just send a little brief shout out to my son and University of Kentucky. They're getting ready to go to the Olympics. And so we want to wish all the best to all the Olympians and all of the young adults that's leaving America to go over there to South Korea, and we ask you that you do well. Joshua, we love you, boy. Go out there and give them a good time. So back to you, Joshua. Josh, we want to thank you for your efforts and your work that you've done, and you've drafted so many bills and legislation and brought them right there to the well. What's the newest thing that you're working on out there? Tell me about what's going on in your life, man.
Well, just in the last couple of days, I mean, thank you for having me, first of all.
Absolutely.
But, just in the last couple of days, we passed Senate Bill 31 out of the Senate unanimously.
Okay.
And what that bill does is it takes the existing board that makes decisions about state employee health insurance.
Okay.
And it would require the governor to appoint a teacher and a state employee to that board so that the people who are affected, the tens of thousands of people that participate in the state health benefit plan, will finally have a say in decisions that are made that affect their health insurance, their health care, and their ability to provide for their families. So I'm honored that we were able to get it through the Senate. Of course, now we have to pass it through the House. We've got roughly a month and a half to do that, and hopefully we can get it passed into the governor for his signature.
Josh, you made a very valid point. You said finally that they will have a say about their health care. So am I to believe, or is it implied that they weren't able to have a say? Tell me a little bit about that. What does that mean?
Right now there's a 9-person board that makes decisions about the state health benefit plan, about what insurance companies can compete for that business, what the policies look like, how much the state contributes to those employee benefit plans versus how much those employees are going to have to pay out of their own pocket. And obviously we all know what's happening to the cost of health insurance and the cost of health care in this country. And so right now that 9-person board is not representative, has not been representative in the past of state employees and state teachers. And so at least having 2 of those 9 members be affected by the decisions that get made give these folks a voice. It also creates an advisory board made up of 12 folks who come out of that state health benefit plan, both teachers and state employees, who can advise the commissioner on decisions that are made regarding state health benefits.
Josh, I think where I come from in the great state of North Carolina, I'm a Georgia. I've been in Georgia now for well over 30 years, and I love Georgia. But I think from where I come from, Josh, just old country boy wisdom, conventional wisdom, I think we call that checks and balances.
Absolutely. I mean, this is just about giving the people who are affected by these decisions a say in the process, because, you know, you make health insurance or health care unaffordable for people. It's very difficult. And, you know, these people who have taken jobs with the state over the years and people who teach in our K through 12 public educational system, they were promised when they came in, hey, we're not going to be able to pay you as much as you'd make in the private sector. We're going to make up for that with these benefits that you're going to receive, your retirement benefit and your health insurance. And so this is just a way to make sure we're honoring that commitment by giving them a seat at the table, literally, in those decisions.
Great, Josh. Once again, you've always been a champion for the people. And I just want to go on record to say that this man, Josh McCune, has undoubtedly and unequivocally taken on hard and tough issues that other people would not have touched. But there's a tenacity and a tenaciousness about your whole demeanor and your platform that you will get behind not any cause, but just because it's for the best interest of the people. And I want to congratulate you and applaud you for your courageousness, because I'm sure it's not always easy to walk through those halls and the annals of those halls and perhaps not to be spoke to or just, you know, kind of, you know, like the here he comes type of deal. But the people love you. I mean, what is it about you that drives you, Josh, where's this fire coming from to be this champion for the people? You look like a David against Goliath.
Well, you know, John, one of the things that really motivated me to get involved in public service was the idea that government was getting in the way of the average person being able to achieve their American dream. And I think a big part of that is that special interests really have an outsized influence in our political system, including at our state capitol. That's why when I first got elected, my first order of business for me was to put some limits on lobbyist gifts to members of the Georgia General Assembly. They were spending $2 million a year, if you can believe that, on members of the Georgia General Assembly, these folks that walk around the third floor of the Capitol who are representing various special interest groups. And it took us 3 years. It took a lot of fighting, and you're right, it didn't make me the most popular person under the Gold Dome, but we got a $75 limitation on gifts from lobbyists. We cut that activity in half within a year. And we've changed the culture under the Gold Dome. And so, that was important to me because, people ought to have confidence in their government.
Absolutely.
They ought to believe that they can trust their elected officials. And I think us putting that marker down and saying, you know what, we can draw a line in the sand and say, we're gonna limit this to some reasonable expenses. I think it's given us a lot of goodwill with the people of this state, and that's something I'm very proud of.
Josh, I'm not so much sure. Once again, I think you're hunting the rabbit on the right trail. Now, not tell us so much about the rabbit, but more about what is it? The Caesar shadow?
The groundhog.
The groundhog. We're not sure if there's going to be an early spring or late spring, but let's talk about the session. Is it going to end early, or is it going to end late, or do you see meeting the date for signing day, or is there just some things that we can't see back here that's taking place that could clog the wheel?
Well, we know for certain that we will adjourn on March 29th at midnight. So the day before Good Friday, we'll be adjourning. And, we're about halfway through our process right now. We got about 20 legislative days to go. And, the big business for us to take care of is the budget. We're still waiting on the House to pass the fiscal year 19 budget. That'll come over to us. It'll probably be $26 billion in state spending. That's what we're constitutionally required to do. Beyond that, you do see some bills on health care, on rural broadband access. So the legislature is wrestling with some significant issues, but it's anybody's guess what will actually make it to the finish line and to the governor's desk.
Well, Senator McCune, I cannot thank you enough for coming to take the time away from your busy life, your busy schedule, and to come and just let us know. I want to thank you also. We'll be right back. We've got some more questions for Mr. McCune, and he's doing an amazing job to let us know exactly what's going on in the state capitol. We will be right back. The Georgia Peach Symposium. Bless you.
We service the growing need for accessible and affordable vision care for the children of Georgia. Complete eye care assistance will give underprivileged children the opportunity to fulfill their dreams. They do this by ensuring that they can see well enough to participate in school and life activities. Located at 6063 Peachtree Parkway, Suite 101A, inside the same building as the Piedmont Urgent Center. Bye.
Thank you for again tuning back in with us at the Georgia Peach Symposium. We're so excited once again to have you back here listening to us, and we just love your support. Thank you so much for your support. We're here with State Senator Joshua McCune, our champion for the people. Josh, I want to talk to you a little bit more, back to the segment that we were speaking on a little bit more. So this is getting ready to be, we're in an election cycle. We know right now that we're in, the session is meeting, but we know there's a primary coming up. Talk to me a little bit about the date of the primary.
So we do have elections here in 2018. Governor Deal's term limited. You have a number of people running for governor, so there are a lot of statewide offices that are open. And then, of course, the entire General Assembly is up every 2 years. So the primary for both Republican and Democratic candidates will be May 22nd. Early voting will start on April the 30th.
Sounds good. So now, you've got everybody out there getting people registered to vote, but we want to make sure that as you talked about earlier, the integrity of the system, the integrity of the vote, and making sure that that the people know that that they can trust in the whole system. So Georgia has been working very, very hard to make sure that we streamline voting and that we get the voting machines and that we get everything streamlined and that every vote counts. And so we're very proud of that. We're proud of what has been accomplished. But now where do we go next? And is there something other integrations that I'm not aware of that will be beneficial for the people to know about? Can you talk about that a little bit for us?
Sure. I'm working with Senator Bruce Thompson on some legislation now.
Okay.
To move us from our current system of voting where we have these touchscreen electronic voting machines that I imagine many of your viewers are familiar with. We're going to be looking to move to a system that has a paper element where there's a physical ballot where your vote is recorded and can be reviewed in the case of a very close election where maybe a recount needs to be done. I was actually at the Capitol earlier today looking at different voting technologies that are going to be available now. Everything from a touchscreen machine that prints out a ballot to simply an optical scan sheet, kind of like those standardized tests people probably remember bubbling in, just putting that through a scanner and retaining that ballot. So there are a lot of different choices, but the legislature is going to have to make a decision working with the executive branch in the next couple of years because the machines we've had for the last 15 years, they're beginning to wear out and break down. And we probably have another year or two before we'll be ready to make that move. So I've been working with Senator Thompson on that.
What a great task. Well, I just want to once again, Josh, I want to just tell you, I believe in what you're doing. I'm so glad for each and every one of you all that have undertaken the call and the commitment to serve the citizens of this great state of Georgia. Georgia has been very progressive in the marketplace, and Georgia has been a leader in technology. Georgia has been a leader in agriculture, and Georgia has just been a leader in training and developing people. And so a lot of people think you guys down there make millions and millions of dollars, but it's definitely a labor of love and a sacrifice for the people. I can't thank you enough for what you do. And I know sometimes there are late nights and early mornings, but I just want to say on the behalf of the citizens in Georgia, we thank you all. We thank you, Josh. We thank the whole General House of Assembly of what you're doing. And just keep up the good work. Thank you for being a guest today. I look forward to having you back on the air so we can catch up on what's going on with you, okay? Thank you for being here. Once again, I want to thank the listening audience today to tuning in to the Georgia Peace Symposium. We look to see you every week. We thank you for coming in. We would love to have your support. Call in, write in. Let us know that we're making a difference in your life. Thank you real good. You have a great and amazing week, and God bless you real good. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for you guys tuning in with us. We're going to be coming right back with our next guest right here at the Georgia Peace Symposium. Just stand by. We'll be right back. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to the Georgia Peace Symposium. And we have just had a great time just sharing, even in the green room today, with one of our guests that we have today. Her name is Rhonda Colvin-Leary. Rhonda Colvin-Leary is an attorney in Gwinnett County. And so, Rhonda, so glad to have you here today. How do you feel?
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. Looking forward.
Great. Well, one thing we want to talk about, we had some people right there from your county that we've also done a program with, and it's Rosanna, right there, the solicitor, Zebo, right there in Gwinnett County, the solicitor. We had Joelle. I think she's her deputy. She's our chief deputy. And also we had Dana, the assistant as well, to come and talk to us more so about some of the administrative side of Gwinnett County in terms of prosecutable cases. I think they're prosecuting about 100,000 cases they ought to solicit off. But I want to talk to you more so from representing the defendant. So what happens? What does it look like if it's established that the person has a mental illness or they're a veteran? How does that tie in? Help us, please.
Yes, Mr. Marsh, I want to first say
Just call me John.
Well, John, Gwinnett County is a great county to work in, and I've worked there. I have over 17 years of experience as an attorney. And mental health, it is a growing issue in Gwinnett County. There are a lot of people who I see and I represent in the court system who have suffered and are suffering from mental health issues. And mental health issues come in varied forms. You can have anywhere from people suffering that's been in the military,
Right.
and from people such as young people with ADHD, autism. Those are also considered mental health issues. And so when I have a client who I see has exhibited some type of mental health issues, I have to take note of that, and I have to advocate for that client with where they are. And luckily, Gwinnett County does have some options. Accountability courts are a huge thing in our judicial system, and I am so adamant about accountability courts because it allows us to address the issue, not just glaze over it, not send someone to jail who can be better served by addressing that underlying issue. So that's one of the great things about Gwinnett County. They are addressing and taking heed to the huge rise with our mental health crisis.
One thing I also know, and I've gotten to see you around the county, and I've seen some of the work you've done. I think you're working with a lot of, young women that are disenfranchised from the community. I know that. I know you're working very tirelessly, just right there in your church. I think that's Hopewell. You're working there. You're doing some things that even in just variation, different ecumenical circles. And so you're making a wonderful stride in Gwinnett County, and I want to thank you for that, Attorney Leary. But one of the things I also want to talk to you a little bit more about is, so if a person is in the system and they have been arrested for drinking or driving, or let's say they were just breaking the law, just going to somebody's house, creating a disturbance. And so now it's your client, and you know that person to be on medication based upon speaking with their family. So how does that look with them inside of the Gwinnett, and I just want to say, Butch Conway and the jail out there, they're doing an amazing job with taking care of the inmates from what I've understood, but I want to hear more from the attorney. How do you make sure that they are medicated and they get the treatment that they need? Talk to me about that.
One thing that we've got to make sure is if a person is suffering from a mental illness, we have to make sure that they are, first of all, competent. Okay. In order to even address their criminal case or stand trial.
Right.
You can have a mental health or mental health illness and still be held criminally liable for your crime. So as an attorney, I have to make sure that my client is competent, first of all. Competent simply means, are they able to understand what they have done? Are they able to understand their legal rights? So once I've established that they are competent to stand trial, then that's when the next step moves forward. However, in the process, some people need to be rehabilitated. They need to make sure that they're not competent, but they can be rehabilitated, then go to trial. So there are varied steps that you have to go to and to make sure that when you stand up there before a judge, that you're able to understand why you're standing there, that you're able to freely and voluntarily, willingly enter into a guilty plea or not guilty plea. So it is a very serious issue. It's a very sensitive issue, and that's when you need your family. You need a support system to be there to help you if you don't have an attorney. But I would encourage anybody who's facing criminal charges to have representation, to have an attorney. And when you have that attorney, that's where you look for the attorney to be your advocate, the attorney to fight vigorously for you. Now, there are some creative ways that you can deal with criminal charges when you have mental health issues. I think you heard from the Solicitor General's office when you had both Dana and Joel here. There are some accountability courts. They have Veterans Court, and they have mental health diversion courts. Those are excellent course because it allows the person to not only address their mental illness, but it allows them to address the criminal charges also. It allows them to perhaps have their charges dismissed, which is an excellent outcome. And so I think more of those type of courts should be instilled in our court system, but the ones that we do have, all we can do is improve on them and take advantage of them. And I think that it helps not only the individual, but the community itself also.
Well, Rhonda, I think we got an opportunity to speak to you a little bit in the back, and I understand that you're a great patriot. I understand that your father also served in the United States military.
He did.
And so when we come back from our station break, I want you to talk to us a little bit more about what is it like living with a veteran, and what is it like after the aftermath of war. Once again, I want to encourage each and every one of y'all to stay tuned. She has some insight. She's going to go right into the home and talk to us. What is it like living with a veteran, and what is it like after the war is over? Thank you so much for tuning in to the Georgia Peach Symposium, and we will be right back.
Some people pretend to be legal experts. They might call themselves notaries, legal consultants, or legal office managers. If they provide legal services, that is against the law. Only a licensed attorney can provide legal services. Protect your rights. Don't be scammed. To report scams or to find an attorney, contact the State Bar of Georgia.
Thank you for tuning back into the Georgia Peace Symposium. Once again, we have attorney Rhonda Aleera here from Gwinnett County, and she's an attorney. She is working with some folks right there in Gwinnett County, has been working there for over 20 years, and she is right here today talking to us a little bit about her interaction with the solicitor and the solicitor's court, and also just working with the defendants that she served. And so, Rhonda, as we left earlier, and we're back to you, we want to talk to you a little more about your father. I think you said in the green room that he was in the military. I know you're a great patriot. I know you love your country. I know you love Gwinnett County. But let's go into the home. Did you say you was from Mississippi? Where are you from again?
No, I'm originally from Alabama. I was born and raised in Alabama, a little small town.
Tell us your story about your father.
A little small town, and as an attorney, that's one of the reasons I am so passionate about mental health illness. I grew up in a family where my dad served in Vietnam. And I remember as a child, my dad was an awesome, God-fearing, loving guy. But because of his service in Vietnam, when he came back home, he was a different person. He was still a good person, but he was a different person. And I often remember seeing some of my friends go run up and hug their dads and jump on his back, do things of that nature. But I couldn't do that because I could not walk up behind my dad and startle him because of what he had experienced in Vietnam. He had flashback. He suffered from PTSD. And so as a child, I saw this, and I saw the change that it could bring over a person. So now, as I am an attorney, and I'm representing young men and young women who've been in the military, who've served our country very, very, very well, come back, and they're good people, but they're suffering from PTSD or suffering from the bombing and the shell shock. And they commit these offenses simply because of the effects of them having been over in the military. And I thought, that's not right. They shouldn't have to be stigmatized or put in a situation simply because of their service. So that's why I'm so passionate about mental health illnesses. That's why I'm so happy and grateful that we do have accountability courts. That's why I'm so pleased that people are taking notice of the mental health illness. It's a growing concern here, even in Gwinnett County.
I'm so glad that you was willing to share that. That was very intimate, and that was very, very insightful information, because I know that we have someone out there that's dealing with the same thing. I want to talk to you about a little bit about the DUI, and I know that's an area you've touched on. So generally speaking, if a person is caught speeding or just caught with a moving violation, do you represent people that are inebriated, that's intoxicated, and what does that look like in Gwinnett, and what is the best? Talk to us about it.
Yes, I actually represent them, I defend them, and I also prosecute them. I serve a dual role. I'm a prosecutor for City of Winder currently, and I also have my own practice where I defend people. So I get to see the best of both worlds. I get to see, how to prosecute, and I get to see how to to defend them.
I think that's
yes,
important.
Yes, and if you are caught or stopped by a police officer charged with driving under the influence of either drugs or alcohol, and a lot of people get confused. They say, well, I was prescribed this medication. I'm legally allowed to take it. Yes, that's true, but you're not allowed to take it and operate a motor vehicle to the extent that it makes you a less safe driver.
That's deep.
Yes, you have to make sure you're able to drive safely. You're out on the road with other people. So not only your life is at stake, other people's lives are at stake. In state court, DUI or DUI vehicular homicide is the most serious offense that you can have in state court. The maximum penalty for that is 12 months in jail, 12 months probation, and a $1,000 fine. That's the maximum criminal penalty that you can get for each misdemeanor in the state of Georgia. And along with that, it's not only costly and expensive, but people lose their license. There's license suspension consequences that you have. You have to decide whether or not you're going to take the breath test on the side of the road. Your breath alcohol concentration has to be below the 0.08, which is the Georgia level. It's just a whole host of things, John, that you have to look at when you're charged with a criminal offense.
Rhonda, I want to thank you so much for coming in and sharing your life. I want to thank you for your service. Oftentimes that you find attorneys, but you're working hand in hand with the county. You're working hand in hand with the citizens, and you just have a dual role. And you're a blessing to Gwinnett County. And so I want to thank you for being that blessing. I want to thank you for your family who's allowed you to go out and really just make the difference that you're making. If there's ever anything that we can do for you right here at the Georgia Peace Symposium, you just let us know. Thank you for coming. You've been a very gracious person to interview. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Georgia Peace Symposium. Thank you. Until the next time, just have a great and a wonderful day. Once again, the Georgia Peace Symposium. Be blessed.